The American Indian boarding schools have been named the Native Genocide by tribes in Canada. More than 1,000 unmarked graves have been found at former boarding school sites this year. The United States has yet to look.
We just want, the proper justice for our young ones that were, taken from us.
An estimated tens or perhaps even hundreds of thousands of Native American children were removed from their families and forced into boarding schools from the late 1800s until the early 1980s. The schools were primarily run by religious organizations and overseen by the United States government. Children as young as 5 were placed in schools run like prisons, kept away from families and everything familiar. The school's motto, "Kill the Indian, save the man," a metaphor that at times became reality.
I've read about stories of a gentleman who one of his responsibilities and jobs at the boarding school was to bury the babies.
James Bud Day is the cultural director for the Gun Lake Tribe in Michigan. He's heard firsthand accounts of students burying bodies at the school grounds. He's seen an incinerator at one school in Michigan, which leads him and others to believe that some of the children's bodies may have been burned. But Day and other tribal members believe if we search the old school grounds, there will be bodies.
Just going by the odds alone, there has to be, and that's why us as Native communities want those investigations done.
Our way is our children are gifts from the Creator.
According to historical records, there were at least 3 Native American boarding schools in Michigan: Indian Industrial Boarding School in Mount Pleasant, the Holy Name of Jesus Indian Mission in the Upper Peninsula, and Holy Childhood in Harbor Springs. Hundreds of students pass through these schools each year for more than 80 years. Some never left.
There's probably Native people lying here now as we speak.
Kateri Walker attended the boarding school in Harbor Springs and survived. In 1997, Holy Childhood moved student remains to a local cemetery. A single white cross now sits on the old school property in their honor. Tribe members believe there are more remains scattered on the property. Target 8 asked the Gaylord Diocese that ran the school for death records, but we were told they could not be found. Same for the school in the Upper Peninsula. In Mount Pleasant, school records show 5 documented deaths, but research done by CMU professor Sarah Surface Evans found at least 227 children died at the school, which draws questions about the validity of school records that do exist. What the CMU professor couldn't find is where the bodies were laid to rest.
They also know where the bodies are. They know where the records are. They know all that stuff. And it's kind of scary to say this out loud because they could be shredding documents right now, as we speak.
Target 8 requests interviews with the Catholic diocese that ran the schools in Michigan, but the diocese turned down those requests. They agreed to talk off camera, telling us what they know. We were told for most of the information it was too long ago and they don't feel comfortable commenting, despite some of the priests and nuns still being alive.
Who could do that to a child, And Americans can't just say, well, it wasn't me that did it. And that's what I always get was, well, that was a long time, it wasn't me.
Children 5 to 14 years old attended the schools, but photos allude to children starting sooner and leaving later. So what killed them? Unsanitary conditions and overcrowding fueled communicable diseases like smallpox, especially in students weakened by trauma and small food rations. Some died from disease, others suicide, or even beatings.
This woman said they beat him down all those flights of stairs. And she said, and then what happened? She said, we never saw him again.
Schools had their own cemeteries, and students often built their classmates' coffins according to tribal records. Unknown to tribal members is how many Native American children died or went missing from the Native American boarding schools.
It is the state's responsibility.
Kateri, other tribal members, and the National Native American Boarding School Healing Association says the least the state and/or federal government can do is help find the children.
We want that justice for them. We want that healing for their families, whether it was generations ago or not. We want their spirits to be, set free.
And some tribal members say if the government won't step up, the tribes will do it themselves. Target 8 did reach out to the governor's office multiple times, but we did not hear back. Now, if you missed part 1, you can watch it right now at woodtv.com.